a scientific standard on how to measure something and what to do with it. So the first thing, of course, you need to decide is what you want to measure. Now, in this small scale action on the Bosker, what we would like at the end know is that if we implement something, if we implement a measure or we redevelop the park, what will be the influence of the actions that we took? Okay. How you're going to measure that is more like what are the different types of elements on which an action has influence. And one of these elements is, of course, as we're talking about the park, the number of people that come into a park. Hopefully they also come out of it. Once we have that data, we can make it available, we can analyze it, and then we can transform that data into an analysis. And from that analysis, of course, we can readapt an implementation. So this is the entire idea. Now, another way to view it is you take a picture, meaning you have the data as it is now, you implement a change, you take another picture, and then of course you can compare the two group of data. Right? You can try then to figure out what is the link between the action that we did and the difference in data, and then again adapt the thing. Now, as Stephen showed you a moment ago, what we need is we need to know how many people come into a park, when do they come into a park, which of days of the weekdays are the most popular, at what time is a park the most visited, but probably also when is a park free. You know, sometimes we have a request, I would like to have, I don't know, something like a dance crew practicing in a park, and for this moment, as long as we do not have data, we cannot give a correct answer on that. At the end, as said before, what is the impact of an action in the park? That is what we would like to know. Now, you remember the park that Stephen showed you a moment ago? And as he said, the 18th of January, last January, we have this thing here installed. I expanded it a bit. You know, this is a counter, and that counter is linked to a router, which is linked to, how you call that? Give me a second. To a switch, and then of course it is transmitted. So here it is. We have this installed the 18th, so this means that so far we only have data from then on, of course, but you already see that for the moment, February, there's a lot of more people in there. What the thing does is it counts the number of people coming in, okay? So it does not give you an average or a maximum number of people on it. I'm going to try to show you what the information is that we can do with it. Give me a second. I'm going to open a new share, and I'm going to this one, and let's share this. Right. Do you see the VM count?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, whoa, what fun. So, of course, it's in Dutch, so I need to excuse myself for that. But for the moment, there are 3 people in there. We set for this park a maximum number of people, which is convenient, at 150. And there is a small pie chart here showing the difference in gender of the people visiting the park. Now, as you see here, for the moment, we are into the dashboard, and this is the default one. Now, you can modify that, you can add stuff. Let me show you a few that I did. So, like in this one here, this week we have 522 people coming in the park, and compared to the same week but last week, that is 153%. Same again goes, of course, for the difference in gender. We have in total 3,000 men visiting the park, and here you have a bit of view per week. And as you see here, of course, we have a week, the third week of, was it that? Yes, indeed. Week 7 of 2021, there were at a certain point a lot of people. Now, besides having this view, which of course you can really go a lot further than that. You see here a line chart. You can really play around with the numbers. Also possible, I'd like to show you is that on a certain, at a certain point, you know, as you see here, there are 3 people in there, but it is possible to set an alert, which means that if the count of the people comes in, and I said here an example to about 100, well, at that point, an email will be sent to you or to the group of people that you want to alert. Now, you may say, what is the idea behind that? Well, as Steven said, we have the community guards. So by then we know that we do not need to send them over that park when there are only 3 people. But if, for instance, it goes up over 100, then it might be interesting to send over some people. Same goes for reports. Let me just create a new one for you. As you see, we only have one counter. We only implemented it in one location. So I only have that possibility here. You can set the period when it is only for today, going from yesterday, this week, last month, stuff like that. So if I now go for the entire year, this year, and then you can say set the interval, which goes from really a day till a total of an entire year. You can have the number of people coming into a park, but also coming out to a park. In the ideal case, that would be the same, but there are situations where that is not the case. So it allows you to play around with that. You can select the weekdays that you want to take into account, and the same goes for the month. And you can select the timing for opening and closing. And this, of course, gives you a result like this here. So you see here, we had an exceptional date, which is yesterday. There were 523 people in that park, which is quite amazing. Now in this report here, they also have a split by number of people per day. But of course, you can go a bit further than that. If you go like in this report, you can see it more in the chart. Now, the advantage of all that, if I now go again to my PowerPoint presentation, right, is that you can export the data from those reports into an Excel file. And as you know, there are some things you can do with Excel. I have here the hours of a day where the park is open. And as you see here, we have the total number of visitors, we have an average of the visitors, and we have a maximum, which you might think should be more or less the same, but there are already slight differences. You see here that, of course, at 4 o'clock, that is the moment where in total we had the most people in there. Same goes for the average, the most average account, and in this case also the same goes for the maximum of people. Now, nudging told me that I love this stuff. I like playing with numbers, but nudging told me that a chart might be more appealing to some people. And if you put that in a bar chart, there, of course, immediately you see that 4 o'clock in the afternoon is the moment where you want to visit a park if you want to keep an eye on it. The same is in fact in this chart here. If I now switch from the number of hours to the weekdays, again, same information. You see that in this case here, Wednesdays and Sundays, along with Saturdays, are in fact the 3 days in a week where so far these data show that the most of people are in there. And I must say that this is really a reduced set of data. As said, it is only from the 18th of January that is implemented, so we do not even have 2 entire months, let alone an entire year. But if we can start comparing elements, that would be the thing to do. Now, let me get back to the thing. What I wanted to talk to you also about is that you see there is a gender. Let me show you my screen again. Where are it? Oh, this is it. Okay. If I go to the report, as you see, they made a split of a gender. Now, I should point out that the only thing the device that we installed does is it looks downwards to a surface which counts in fact constantly the difference between the height of the object itself and the floor. So that is how it counts the number of people coming in. There are possibilities to have it also split per group of age, but to do so, of course, therefore you need a camera in front. And of course, then we get into a whole lot of discussion on privacy and stuff like that. So we really opted not to do that. Concerning the gender difference, some of you may wonder, how do we do that? Now, we came up with several solutions. We even had some volunteers to check it all out, but at the end we selected for the most boring solution, which is, of course, there is artificial intelligence behind it. We're having a bit of trouble with the supplier. We are still waiting on more detailed information on what that artificial intelligence is taking into account. But so far, as you see here, we can say that for this part, there are the different, how you say that? We have about 30 to 70% in gender difference. So again, you may wonder why you need to know that. Well, one of the items we want to work on public parks is that a lot of public parks seem to have more attraction to guys playing football, playing basketball, more than girls. And we are trying to think about ways to have this more equal. Okay. Another element, as you saw on a certain report, of course, not only, let me check again this thing here. Okay. As you see here, last Saturday is an exceptionally high day, but there, of course, the weather was of influence. We had a very cold week last week, and if I'm not mistaken, it was from Saturday on that the weather changed and was quite good. Is that correct, Simon? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we had snow
Yes.
2 weeks ago, and then last week we had 20 degrees in Belgium.
Right.
So seasons are changing.
Now, again, I'm not allowed to talk about budget, but some of you may ask, what is the price of this? Well, concerning hardware, we are at about 2000, including the installation and the switch and the routers and the supporting guide. We come at about 2,500 euro to have that. And on top of that, of course, comes a license fee. And that license fee depends on the number of details that you want to take into account. So we are still working to have weather information included on that. Now, to finalize this, um, listen, this is a big step for us. I mean, none of us, none of anyone from the department who is managing the parks had any real idea on how many people are there in the park, let alone knowing when and why people come into the park. Of course, this doesn't show you why people come into a park or what are the functions they are using it, but it shows you at least some really accurate data that you can use and argument when you are trying to implement something. I'm checking Steven and Simon if I forgot something to
Yeah,
add
maybe
on this.
maybe good to add that there's only one gate to this park, so we
Oh
only
yeah,
had to buy one measure thing, so that's easy for us. And that now with this data we could plan the surveillance better. We also can compare them the upcoming months with the nuisance notifications, with the amount of garbage in the park and stuff like that. So it would help us a lot to precise the actions we need to do in the field.